Spanish-American philosopher George Santayana once said the famous quote, "Those who cannot remember history are condemned to repeat it." Karl Marx, a German philosopher known for his theories on communism, once recalled the coup d'etat of Napoleon I and his nephew Napoleon III, where they wrote, "Hegel remarks somewhere that all facts and personages of great importance in world history occur as it were twice. He forgot to add the first time as a tragedy, the second time as a farce." George Wilhelm Friedrich Hegel was an important figure in German idealism that also thought on the ideas of alienation, the universe, and the judgment of history. History occurs all around us for every day that passes. Someone can easily tell you a lie that happened the other day. And if you were not there, it would be extremely hard to make you believe what they have told you without much proof. But that starts to change when we start to discuss events that occurred centuries ago. We can consider the written records from that time, and on the off chance stories are passed down over the years, they might hold some weight. But in the end, these kinds of details can start to change minutely, and the stories start to shift. And when a country leaders start to change the narrative of what has occurred in the past, their people tend not to be able to dispute those facts. Some countries in the world have media and internet that's completely restricted their freedom and their access to the outside world. China has a harsh censorship laws and has been known to change the actions of their past. Finally, North Korea is one of the most isolated countries in the world today, with history that is almost completely fabricated. So, should a country really rewrite their history and change what their own people know? When a country is restricted to such a degree where people have no freedom, they will tend to also lose sight of the outside world. The people that live in countries where they are restricted from outside information will find that most of them do not realize they are being restricted. The government will have control of the media filtering in and out and what they want their people to know. The media will be restricted to the highest degree and essentially just be puppets. This boils down to the government only releasing information that can show themselves in a favorable light. When you have no access to the outside, why would you let your people know how bad of a country and past you really have? This is where isolation comes into play. This helps prompt the spread of misinformation or even the complete illusion of something that does not directly affect them. This has been an event that has happened countless times in the past and will most likely continue to happen far into the future. China has a rich and long history, but currently in the past century, there has been some events that China has wanted to entirely erase from their history. One of the most important events occurred in 1989 in Tiananmen Square. This event stemmed from the death of a political reformer, Hu Yongbang, in April of that year. He was campaigning against the corruption that was spreading throughout the Chinese government. And large groups of students came to Tiananmen Square to pay their respects to the departed and hold a peaceful protest. And by June 4th, the peace was broken and an uncountable amount of people died. Since China completely denies this event ever happening, there has never been an official death toll, but it is theorized to be somewhere along the lines of 500 to 2,500 students. China has somewhat successfully purged this event from their history when considered from their own perspective. They have an incredibly strict internet service where even Google is all but restricted there. Both artists and journalists are heavily regulated and can even be detained or imprisoned for spreading information that does not align with the government's ideas. The government even goes as far to erase these events from textbooks and lessons, and it will be hard to find many that know or are even willing to admit that they know what they're talking about. North Korea is probably the most restricted country in the world, with only a handful of people that can leave the country, this tending to be high-ranking officials or government leaders. The common people are completely restricted to the country, with only some lucky few escaping over the years. With such a restricted environment and almost entirely no access to the internet, the people of North Korea are entirely subject to what they are told by their leaders, even to the point where the people have a completely different concept of the outside world than what it is like. The people of North Korea are taught that their leader is a god and that their country is truly the most powerful one in the world. The media is completely run by the government with no real sense of freedom. This is the true definition of isolation, and North Korea can be seen as the prime example of a country with a history that has been erased. Even the death of high-ranking officials are covered up, and they will be erased from all forms of pictures or videos that are in the country, like they had never even existed in the first place. Here, most people are blissfully unaware of what is truly happening outside of their lives, and they may never truly know. In the end, there is no way to stop a whole country from telling lies if their country is heavily regulated. China will continue to morph history in their favor, and North Korea will project what they wish on their people. When countries grow too corrupt and want complete control over their people, they will dictate what those people believe to be true. When you can be the one that tells history, events like Tiananmen Square massacre fade into obscurity and almost fiction, and North Korea becomes completely cut off from the rest of the world. In the book 1984 by George Orwell, he states, "The most effective way to destroy people is to deny and obliterate their own understanding of their history." And that is exactly what is happening in many countries today. History is being erased. When you remove how a people think and learn, they will in turn have no way to resist their oppressors and leave their fabricated world. This is the consequences of erasing history.